Hello, hello. Welcome, please come in. We've arrived at our final Dark Souls game and our final Pyromancy playthrough. As before, I've never actually used Pyromancy in Dark Souls 3, so I'm very excited to see how Pyromancy holds up in this, the hardest of the Dark Souls games. But no preamble, and let's hop in. As before, I name my character Melina and pick the Pyromancer starting class, because fortunately there is a Pyromancer starting class. So no nonsense in this run, at least not yet. We'll see if that holds up. Immediately test out Fireball. Not too expensive, and good damage. And the blue flask in FP means I won't be limited to casts quite as much as in prior games, because now I can boost attunement to also boost FP. And it's into the first boss fight, Lesser Gundyr. This is very much a tutorial fight, and I've played this game quite a number of times. I wasn't actually super sure how my damage would keep up, since I can't level up or improve my damage in any way, but yeah, no, it's fine. Fireball deals more than enough damage, and it barely takes more than 1 FP bar to bring down the first boss. A very nice start. Place the coiled sword in Firelink, and it's time to level. Just like DS2, Pyromancy damage is based on faith and intelligence, so I will be boosting those to maximize my damage throughout the run. And reallocate the flask a bit, because I'm going to need about equal orange and blue for my spell casting. And it's run through the first area time. I've done this run many times, and I'm very familiar with the path. I do need to be sure to pick up Titanite shards as I go, as Pyromancy Flames don't have their own unique upgrade materials in this game. It's just based on the normal Titanite. Unlock the first shortcut, and it's already time for the next boss, Vort. I'd really love to have a better Pyromancy for this, but I can't acquire any new ones until after this boss. Fortunately, Fireball casts pretty quickly and is dealing great damage. It's also only the second boss, and I've fought this boss like so many times. I just really wish I had a melee Pyromancy. And yes, I know Combustion is the default weapon art on the Pyromancy Flame, and yes, the description calls it a Pyromancy, but mechanically this is a weapon skill, not a Pyromancy. So I don't use Combustion in this run at all. And this is definitely the reason, and not because I didn't actually realize Combustion was even there until halfway through the game. Vort dead, I can recruit Yol. His spells are useless to me, but 5 free levels is 5 free levels. Pick him an Estus Flask Shard and some Titanite Shards. It is always funny to me how you can really just run straight through most areas in this game, considering how long it takes me to make any progress at all in my first playthroughs. Next bonfire lit, time to climb on top of this building to recruit this boy, who I occasionally rescue but have never really spoken with because he only matters if you are doing Pyromancy. But he lets me upgrade my Pyromancy Flame and buy new spells, including the incredibly useful Great Combustion to finally give me a melee option, which I will equip once I have a second attunement slot. Time for the double elevator to meet Sigurd. Just like Miracles, I'll need to do his quest to help with Yorm, but the demon I need to fight probably doesn't take much fire damage, so I will be back in a bit once I've picked up some shiny items. But I do forge the alliance with the giant archer. This means I can safely pick up some nice items, including a sublime bone dust. And some death means I can get a level from Yol. And then buy some more pyromancies. And I finally have 2 attunement slots, so I have greater combustion and fireball. Through careful positioning, I can easily pick up this flame plate ring that I don't think I even remember to equip at any point ever. So, added to the list of items I don't remember ever. With new spells, time to head back to grab Titanite, an Estus Flask Shard, and free Grey Rat. And why not? Let's see if I can take down the Great Wood. It takes good damage from Great Combustion, but I also die. The timings on casting spells is a little awkward, and the hitboxes on the pustules apparently have issues with Great Combustion. The fight gets much easier in Phase 2 because I don't have to deal with obnoxious villagers, and I actually do a pretty good job of free aiming my fireballs before I die again because I've run out of healing. Greatwood is just a really awkward boss to deal with all spells, where hitting specific targets is not great. Pustule, would you like to have a functioning hitbox for once? I should honestly probably go fight a different boss, but I'm not going to do that. This time I decide to just free aim fireballs rather than use greater combustion, which shouldn't work better in this game with free aiming spells being such a mess, but honestly, it's way easier to free aim fireballs than hit with great combustion, which is very weird. Back to Firelink to buff my vigor, then a free intelligence level from Yol. Next up is to grab the Fire Clutch ring to boost the fire damage at the cost of defense. And in full transparency, I don't think I ever knew this ring was here in any playthrough I've ever done. Then rescue this cleric, but like Yol, not for her spells. She sells a ring to boost my number of attunement slots. Time to run through the Road of Sacrifices, which has a bunch of nice items I want. First up is the Sage Ring to improve the cast speed of Pyromancies. Then the Great Swamp Pyromancy Tome to unlock some new Pyromancies at Cornix. Another Estus Shard. And it's time for the mandatory Poison Swamp! Yay! Pick up Iron Flesh, which I never use, another Estus Shard. Sublime Bone Dust from the Slug Room. And now the Wolf Bonfire. Then die a couple times trying to get the Dust Crown, which I think I honestly just immediately forgot about and never once equipped. And it's time to help Seekward. I immediately poison the demon, as my only fire spells deal reduced damage, probably. And that's part 1 of this quest completed. Grab the Gloranthy ring for this sweet, sweet stamina regen. Stray Demon time. This fight is always nice to do. It gives some souls, and a boss soul that can give 20,000 souls, a ring that improves carry weight, or, most important to me, the Pyromancy Boulder Heave. This gives me a physical damage option for the first time in Pyromancy history. Hopefully it doesn't end up being wildly disappointing. To find out, I head back to the Road of Sacrifices to unlock the shortcut to the Abyss Watchers, which means it's my favorite part of any run, being locked behind the Abyss Watchers or the Crystal Sage. Hooray! But first, back to Firelink to get my flame up to +4. Alright, let's see if Crystal Sage is going to be a big roadblock again. Good news is I have a melee spell, and it deals good damage. Let's test out Boulder Heave. Excuse me? That's great. I do die because I get stuck on an archway, but that was a very promising first attempt. Second attempt, I lean mostly on Great Combustion. Boulder Heave deals more damage, but Boulder Heave is slower to cast. Once Sage starts summoning clones, I use Fireball to take out the non-main ones. I really should eliminate the lesser clones in this fight more often, I just never want to. I do die and have to try for a third time. And a fourth time. Both because I didn't want to take out the clones. Will I ever learn? Probably not. Fifth attempt is finally the victory as I actually take the time to take out the duplicates. Boring. Back to Yol for another free level, and then to the Firekeeper for more levels. Which I should have actually done in the reverse order, but oh well. Time to start really boosting my faith and intelligence, because I want more damage. Crystal Sage dead, let's see if the Abyss Watchers will behave. Starts off real bad as I get hit by an enemy on my way into the fight, then get blindsided by Watcher 2, and stuck on a wall. Next attempt goes basically the same. Pyromancy casts aren't slow, but I'm struggling to make space for them when there are 2 Watchers, which is a shame because my damage is great. I make it to phase 2, I'm just not as durable or dealing as much damage as I would really prefer to be. That's okay, I don't actually need to be here yet, so I'm gonna head to the Deacons and see how that fight goes. It is here that I learn that Boulder Heave also knocks down foes in addition to dealing great damage. The range is pretty short, but that may not matter if the effect keeps on being useful. The run up to the cathedral itself is quick and easy, and I pick up an Estus Shard right outside. Run through the cathedral, picking up some shiny items as I go, most notable being an Estus Shard in the graveyard area, and, actually nothing else. There are no other items here I actually care about. Wow, that's disappointing. I do briefly try to get Patches to spawn, but yeah, no, he never does. Into the Deacon's fight. I do have a melee spell, so I go in with Combustion, and it works okay, I guess? Let's see how... Holy crap. Okay, so Boulder Heave is bonkers for several reasons. First is the damage, which is great. Second is it knocks down enemies. Third, and perhaps most important for this fight, the boulder continues past the target and creates a secondary explosion. I actually had to rewind the fight while scripting because the boss died too quickly. Normally getting around the random deacons to the main deacon is the challenge of this fight. With Boulder Heave, it doesn't even matter. I actually kill a huge chunk of deacons without even trying to. Boulder Heave just runs right through them. And even when I perfectly hit my target, I also deal huge damage to any nearby deacons. So yeah, if you are struggling with the deacons, try Boulder Heave. I couldn't have designed a better spell for this boss fight. Back to Firelink to buy the key for the back part of the shrine and level up my vigor and faith a bit. Gotta keep that damage flowing. Right up the elevator and... There we go. That's a locked door, meaning Patches is in Firelink, and all is right with the world. But I've also made the rookie mistake of spending all my souls, even though I need to buy all of Sigurd's armor. Fortunately, I have some poppables to buy everything I need. Then into Firelink Rafters to grab an Estus Shard and the Silver Serpent Ring, which I really should have grabbed earlier with the tree jump and simply did not. So, back to the cathedral to drop the armor down the well to complete part 2 of Sigurd's quest. Then back to the Road of Sacrifices to do the Abyss Watchers fight again. And it goes better. Yeah, we'll go with better. It's probably more accurate to say my HP and damage were higher. I still don't do a great job at this boss in either phase, but fortunately, Great Combustion deals great damage, and the Abyss Watchers love to leave themselves open to getting blasted with fire. Which is great, because otherwise this fight probably would not have gone very well. Abyss Watchers down, it's time for the Catacombs of Carthus, which is much shorter thanks to the quick drop-down, skipping a decent portion. And I get to the next bonfire in one. Definitely just one. Only one. Not even a single death from me. And then I honestly think I just got lost somehow. I'm not even sure what's happening here. Okay, back on track and across the bridge. I decided it's better to take on Wolnir first, because there is a Pyromancy tome in the arena that will be quite useful. And wow, Great Combustion just melts through the first 2 bracelets. But then I get greedy and get caught in his death fog. That's embarrassing. Been a while since I died to Wolnir of all enemies. Second attempt, I decide to take out the right arm bracelet first, as that is Wolnir's sword arm. So it is harder to hit in phase 2. A fact I did not remember on my first attempt, because I don't even remember him managing to summon his sword in prior runs. And he also doesn't summon his sword at all on the second attempt. So that's fine. And he dies. Drop off the Pyromancy tome with Cornyx, and then pick up Black Serpent with Wolnir's soul. I'm still very limited on attunement slots, but having another damage type for Pyromancies is always useful. Back to Carthus and down the bridge ladder. Down here I can pick up the Witch's Ring to greatly boost Pyromancy damage, which I always love. Then I take a nice break to watch the demon here fight some skeletons, which despite initially looking one-sided, ends with the skeletons victorious. I love that for them. Trade those souls in for one more level, and that gives me a 4th attunement slot, so I can add Black Serpent to my repertoire. Back down to the Demon Lake, and it's time to hang out while the big snake slowly dies from ballista. So how's everyone doing? Your day going okay? Good. This gives me an undead bone shard, and the gift of not having a giant lightning snake hanging out down here. This makes it much easier to run around collecting the random titanite I'll need to keep upgrading my Pyromancy flame. I'll admit, I was a little worried about my damage given how fire-coated this area is, but yeah, no, Boulder Heave is really great. The double hit effect of Boulder Heave just makes it even more useful. This may be my favorite spell in the game. Quick trip back to Firelink to boost my flame up to +5, and since I'm already in the area, might as well kill the old Demon King. I would have expected this fight to be difficult, cause, you know, fire, but Boulder Heave deals good damage and even staggers him a few times, so this fight is actually really easy. Back in Firelink, I grab Chaos Bed Vestiges with the old Demon King soul. This should hopefully be useful. But there's still more demon ruins to explore because I need to grab Quilana's Pyromancy tome and 2 more large titanite for my Pyromancy flame, which I find and then test out Black Serpent a bit, and it seems inconsistent. Back to Cornyx one more time, and that's a +6 flame. Time for Irithyll, which means it's time to die a few times to the dog because I'm really bad at dodging its attacks. Every time with this nonsense. Someday I'll actually learn, and eventually I do win, against this not even a boss enemy. The Irithyll Knights tend to be pretty obnoxious with their movement speed and ranged attacks, but yeah, no, Boulder Heave handles it. Pretty sure Boulder Heave can handle anything. I actually normally just run straight through this early section, but it's actually easier this time to just use Boulder Heave as needed. Through the graveyard to get an undead bone shard, and it's time to meet up with our friend Sigurd for the next part of his quest. So far so good. Time to see if the jerk dogs will kill me an unreasonable number of times. And the answer is no. I actually managed to not die a bunch of times to random dogs. Thank you, Pyromancy, for not being awful at killing dogs. Actually, that sounds really bad when I phrase it that way. But that's Irithyll, and now it's Pontiff. Pontiff is an interesting fight. He's really aggressive and can be tricky to dodge in Phase 2 once he summons his duplicate, and getting spells off during that is pretty tricky. I actually come pretty close to taking him down on my first attempt, but no, I get a bit too greedy and too sloppy. The truth is, Pontiff isn't generally too difficult, it just takes a bit for me to remember his combo patterns. Once I take the time to do that, I can usually pretty easily punish him, and Pyromancy doesn't really make it any more difficult. Boulder Heap may be a bit slow, but it works well in melee and deals great damage. And when I need to deal damage at range, Fire Orb is pretty good, assuming he doesn't just dodge it. And I can take down the duplicate in 2 casts, which is very nice. It would be nice if I didn't just keep getting my butt kicked, though. Okay, you know what? I need a break from Pontiff. I have the dungeon to explore still. I think half of my problem is I need more damage and more HP. This time I actually remember the key to Sigurd's cell. I also pick up the Dark Clutch Ring. I probably won't want it since I don't have that much dark damage, but better to have it and not need it than to need to come back. And it's time for everybody's favorite room, the Circling Jailer Room. Hooray! Boulder Heave does make them fly all over the place though, which is very funny to watch. And it's Profaned Capital. Kill Logan, who is a powerful spellcaster with no defenses against Boulder Heave, then grab the key to Carla's cell because she's the only one who can teach me dark pyromancies. Finally, free Sigurd for the penultimate step in his quest. And back to Carla to grab Black Flame for a substitute for Great Combustion, and Black Fire Orb for a dark-themed Fire Orb. I also grab the rest of her spells in case I need them. Nothing left to do here but fall to my death. No, I mean fight Yorm, which goes the same as ever. I can't really do any significant damage, so my whole job is attack Yorm to keep his attention on me so that Sigurd can blast him in relative safety. It goes mostly okay, though there is a section near the end where he is giving Sigurd way more attention than I'd prefer. Yorm goes down. No more delays, time to take on Pontiff. This time I try some poison, which deals okay damage. The real star of the show, though, is Black Flame, which deals stupid high damage. Do I actually fight any better? Debatable. Does Pontiff die very quickly? Absolutely. And it's time for an Orlando, which is a quick dash through the area to the boss. There's nothing here I want except Aldrich's head, and Aldrich is weak to fire, which means Great Combustion deals great damage. Then I can switch to Chaos Bed Vestiges, which I hadn't previously used, and holy cow, that is just so much damage. At a range. I never even have to hide from Aldrich's homing arrow rain attack. Aldrich dies too quickly to even use it, which is great. Okay, this endgame section is really flying by now. Grab a couple levels to keep boosting my damage, and it's time for a dance. Dancer doesn't take very much fire damage, but she is very weak to dark, which is good news for Black Fire Orb and Black Flame. I do stumble at the end of attempt 1, but the second attempt is actually a no-hit boss fight, which I'd be proud of, except it's entirely because my spells deal so much damage. Back to Firelink to continue buffing my faith and intelligence. My damage is very good, but it could be even better. And I want it to be. Consumed King's Garden has Titanite chunks I need to keep upgrading my Pyromancy Flame, which is not yet at plus 10, and I would like it to be. And while I'm here, might as well see how Pyromancies fare against Osiris. And my first foray is, not great. Pop back to Firelink to upgrade my Flame again and buff my faith. So close to the soft cap. Yes? Huh? Okay, so I'm just now getting word that the soft cap in DS3 is 40 in both faith and intelligence, so actually still a ways away from reaching the soft cap. But hopefully soon. Anyway, back to Osiris. He's weak to lightning, which is a damage type I cannot deal. Fortunately, Black Flame deals more than enough damage, and sometimes staggers him. He's also really only a pain if you can't stay in melee in Phase 2, so the fight does go pretty well from there. And I'm still down here, so let's give better Gundyr a few tries. Black Flame deals good damage, but Chaos Bed Vestiges deals even more damage, and at range. Range spells aren't usually the best option against Gundyr, given how quickly he can close distance, but Chaos Bed deals so much damage and has such a quick cast time, it doesn't even really matter. It just shreds through his HP so effortlessly. grab a few more levels in Firelink, and it's time to have a nice relaxing sit by a cliff edge, because there are more chunks I need to get my Pyromancy Flame upgraded. But now the final area, and an invasion. It's been a while since I've gotten invaded. Let's see what type of nonsense invasion this will be. Ah, polite duel. I love that. I usually lose these. Except this time, because Black Flame deals so much damage so very quickly. Sorry friend, you had the misfortune of invading during a Pyromancy Only run. It's near endgame, and I'm still powering through most enemies with Boulder Heave and Black Flame. Why did they make Pyromancy so powerful in this game? I still need to explore a bit, because I'm still just a bit short on the chunks I need for a plus 10 weapon. But I can now head back to Cornix and upgrade my flame all the way to max. Maximum damage. Pending faith and intelligence. More picking up items, a bit more leveling, and it's next boss time, the Dragon Slayer armor. Which is always a spicy boss when magic is involved because of his big ol' shield and aggressive physical attacks. Let's see if Pyromancy can change that. First question, how much damage do my spells do? Boulder Heave is pretty solid, which makes sense, but it is slow. Black Flame is fast, but it is also very bad. And I don't even try with Vestiges because he'll just block it with his shield, so Boulder Heave it is. And it looks like all the struggles I had in Sorcery and Miracles is paying off because I actually do a pretty good job in this fight, and it only takes one attempt. It really helps that Boulder Heave just deals so much damage. Alright, Dragon Slayer done, only 2 bosses to go, and just like many other areas, there isn't really very much I need or want here. An Undead Bone Shard, an Estus Shard, and it's time for the run-up for the final shortcut, which doesn't go horribly, which is a nice change of pace. Time to burn all my poppables to get my vigor bumped up a bit. Having fought this boss without having 27 vigor, I can say that it does make a big difference. But no more distractions. It's time for the twins. First comes the standard test to see which spell deals the most damage, and the answer is Chaos Bed Vestiges, which makes sense, but it also makes it the best spell in this case because while it's not the fastest spell, Lorien doesn't actually dodge very much, so ranged options are very reliable. But that's a death, so let's switch out Black Flame for Great Combustion. Black Flame just wasn't dealing the damage I needed it to. Great Combustion is better, and more importantly, it's cheaper than Chaos Bed. It does seem to be pretty bad at hitting Lorien in Phase 2 though, even from behind. I assume for the same reason it struggled to hit Greatwood's Pustules. Must be a hitbox issue. And one try at knocking down Lothric, and I deal a lot less damage with Boulder Heave than I'd hoped. It could work, but it would mean knocking down Lothric 3 or 4 times, which is not at all ideal. Another attempt and it's back to Chaos Bed. It is more expensive, but FP isn't really the issue in this fight, and knocking down Lorien quickly may be my only shot. Once I do, Chaos Bed actually deals stupidly good damage, which is good news actually. Another few knockdowns and I managed to deal the damage I need to bring the twins down. I should never have doubted Chaos Bed Vestiges. This spell deals just so much damage against anything not very resistant to fire. And then there was one. Soul of Cinder is weak to dark, so it's time to change up my spells for the fight. Ashes placed, fire lit, it's final boss time. After, I take a quick lap around Firelink Shrine because I apparently got lost in a building that is a circle and only has one exit. And Black Flame and Black Flame Orb deal okay damage. I mean, I say okay, it's actually quite good, I'm just spoiled by Chaos Bed. Cinder also likes to roll when I throw the orb, which means it always gets caught in the front roll, which it gets funny every time it happens. I do get a bit sloppier than I'd like and get killed on my first attempt, but for a first time, it actually was quite good. It's definitely worth staying in melee range, particularly in Phase 1. Black Flame deals a bit more damage than Orb and has the advantage of occasionally stunning the boss. It is less good in Phase 2 when it gets a wombo combo though. Turns out being far away is better, but one round of warm-ups was enough. I don't need anything more than a brief refresher to burn down this final boss and complete Dark Souls 3 with only Pyromancies. Well, that was an interesting conclusion to this series. I really wasn't sure what to expect from Pyromancies Only. I've never really used them before, and fortunately, I was not at all disappointed. But I don't want to get into that too much here. I'll save my extended thoughts for the summary video coming out next week. For now, if you liked this video, be sure to hit that like button. If you'd like to see more of this, feel free to subscribe. Hey, maybe leave a comment if you have something you'd like to say. But whatever you decide to do, have a safe trip home.